Hello and welcome to your Thursday One show live on BBC One and iPlayer with Alex Jones.
And welcome back, Roman Kemp. Now then, Roman, you were busy last weekend.
Yeah.
You did a brilliant job, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Backstage at the concert. How was it? You were the man with all the goss, I hear.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to kind of slip into the after party of the Platinum Party at the Palace, which did mean that we got to go inside Buckingham Palace for an after party. And let me tell you...
Hang on, what?
Yeah, I know, that's a big drop there already, but...
With the royals?
With the royals, but the best thing about it is that you'd think that at the end of a party at Buckingham Palace, they'd slowly and cordially usher everyone out, really nice. They don't, they just switch the lights on.
Do they?
It's the exact same thing that they do in Destiny nightclub in Watford.
Oh, no.
It's end of the night, you're out. I liked it, I was here for it.
So drinks, food, all of that?
Yeah, it's lovely. Very, very nice. I felt very regal.
Well, you deserved it. You'd worked hard last weekend. And we've got a great show for you, including a brilliant One Big Thank You. And tonight it's the turn of 17-year-old Daniel Lewis, who's doing inspiring work tidying up after the fly tippers. But will he be prepared to help Michaela Strachan when she pranks him with some unconventional wildlife filming?
Ooh, very funny, that one. And we meet the teenagers leaving the care system, often unemployed, and strapped for cash, and find out what one part of the UK is doing to provide a much-needed helping hand.
It's very sad, isn't it, that film? Plus, we're joined by some of the finest actors Britain has to offer. Between them, they have done it all. Please welcome Dame Sheila Hancock, Olivia Williams and Sir Lenny Henry. Hello, welcome back. Good to have you all with us.
Very nice to be here. Isn't it lovely to be out?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Out of where?
I mean, yeah, we're used to seeing you on the old,
usually I'm zooming
telly.
in. Is it on? Can you hear me?
Now then, you praised Russell T Davies the other way because Ncuti Gatwa is the new Doctor Who. And this is a brilliant move forward, isn't it, for getting representation on screen?
Jamaicans have been waiting for this for 25, 30, 40 years. When are they going to have a black Doctor Who? And finally, he's here, and my goodness, it's going to be extraordinary. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm trying to sneak on. I've said to Russell already, can I be a monster or something? So we'll see.
A Dalek.
Yeah.
I'd love to be in that Dalek suit.
I've
already been the Blob, so I'm used to having no room. Probably won't have to sing or anything, but it's such a great thing.
Yeah.
Well, that was, you have starred already in Doctor Who, Lenny, as have you.
I have, yeah.
Dame Sheila. And you're still a huge hit with the fans, am I right?
Well, it was a freaky show. It was apparently, all the fans tell me, it wasn't like the normal Doctor Who. And my character, I thought it'd be rather good to do it with a Margaret Thatcher voice, just out of the blue. And it caused an outrage. All the Tories were livid because it was an evil character. And it wasn't why I'd done it. I just thought it would be a funny voice to use, But every time because they're fanatical people, aren't they? Follow it. They love it. And they all say, oh, well, mine is a special autograph to have because it was such a freaky show. Oh. Apparently.
Good.
And in 2013, Olivia, they were looking to cast a new Doctor, and apparently you were a very, very popular choice with fans. So would you have done it? Would it have appealed to you?
Absolutely, yeah. I was absolutely terrified by Doctor Who as a small child. There was one episode where there were strange sort of outlines that moved things a bit like a poltergeist, and I hid behind the sofa for weeks. But no, it's an institution. You don't say no to that.
No.
Very good. We're
Still
going to catch
time.
up. Well, we're going to catch up with all your projects later on. And don't forget, if you have a question for any of our guests, you can join the conversation on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or by email.
But first tonight, we want to take a look at a new idea that could be a real game changer for young people leaving care. Here's Ashley John Baptiste with the story.
Turning 18 is a big deal for any teenager, but for those in care, it can be life-changing. For many, it can mean suddenly leaving their foster home and making it on their own. And I know exactly what that's like.
When I left care, I felt completely cut adrift with no idea what the future held. I'd got myself a council flat, but I had no money and no job. Life was just about surviving. And looking back, I definitely could have done with an extra bit of help starting out on my own.
It's a situation that some young people who have grown up in care still find themselves in today.
Hello. Hi, mate. Lovely to meet you.
I've come to meet Darren, who moved into this flat in Swansea after leaving care last year.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. Work decided to make me redundant, so I was hit a bit with bills coming in right at that end of the month. I'm in arrears with my rent.
How much?
About £380.
That's a lot of money when you
It
don't
is
have a
lot,
job.
yeah.
How are you getting by at the moment?
Just on universal credit, about £5 a week before food and gas and electric. I'm trying to just figure ways to survive until I find a job.
And Darren's kitchen tells its own story.
So, in my fridge, to be honest with you, is very lackluster.
Wow.
Just basic things.
You've got nothing in your fridge,
And nothing in
mate.
my fridge, yeah.
How would you describe what you're going through?
It's kind of like being left in a maze and you don't have a clue where you are. You've just been put there and told to do what you can.
But the government here in Wales has come up with an idea that it believes could help care leavers become more independent. From July, it will become the first and only part of the UK to give every 18-year-old leaving care £1,600 a month for 2 years to spend as they like. As Darren's now 19, he's just missed out on qualifying for the new scheme. But more than 500 young care leavers in Wales will, including 17-year-old college student Mia.
You're leaving care soon. How do you feel about that?
Terrified.
Really?
Yes. Of maybe not getting into the job I want or losing it or something terrible that, you know, can make me lose everything, you know, like the worst thing that can happen is that I'm on the streets.
It's a fear I certainly can relate to, and it's one reason why Mia, who hopes to become a police community support officer, thinks the pilot is a great idea.
What difference will £1,600 a month make when you leave care?
I wouldn't worry, I wouldn't stress as much. If something goes wrong, I would have that safety net there to protect me.
Sophie Howe advises Welsh authorities on the well-being of young people. She says similar initiatives elsewhere have had broadly positive results.
Some might say throwing money at them might disincentivise them from working.
All the pilots across the world have actually proven that that's not the case. In Finland, there was a slight increase in people entering into work, alongside this big increase in well-being.
But this answer to what is a pretty complicated problem doesn't have the support of everyone working in the care system. Foster parent Laura believes without the right support, many will struggle and could be open to exploitation.
Research tells us there's those children that have had trauma, stress, abuse and neglect. They're more likely to undertake risky behaviour. And as a foster carer, I see the vulnerabilities and the potential to be taken advantage of. I know that 18, I would not have been ready for this kind of money in my bank account every month.
Financial wellbeing training will be made available according to the Welsh Government. But, like any big new initiative, the scheme has divided opinion here in Swansea.
Any investment in, especially people who have had a bad start in life, I think it's money well spent.
I think they'll waste the money, I do. They'll just spend it on partying and what 18-year-olds get up to.
Spend it on.
Well, no, but well, that is true.
I think it should be extended across the UK, personally.
I know from my own experience that leaving care can be such a difficult transition. Now, it's not the perfect solution, but for people like me, monthly financial support could be an essential lifeline, especially when they face such an uncertain future.
Oh. Well, there is some good news for Darren, who you saw earlier in the film. He's now been offered some work, so potentially the future looks a bit brighter for him. And this leads us very nicely onto a new BBC drama called My Name is Leon, which features the lovely Lenny and Olivia. Now, Lenny, you're not on screen loads, you are there, but you are the person. You're the person who's brought this to the screen because you loved the book.
Yeah.
So tell us why and a little bit about the story.
I was reading an audio book of My Name is Leon, written by Kit Dewar. It's a wonderful book. And about 3/4 of the way through the morning, on the first day, I was crying. And I thought, this is what's going on here. Why am I crying? And the book is so moving. It's about a mixed-race boy who has a younger brother who's white and blue-eyed. And the foster care system splits kids up. This was in the 80s. And they send the baby to one end of the country, and Leon basically stays with his mom, who's depressed having had the baby. Anyway, it's about being bounced around the care system and about eventually Leon finding his tribe. He finds his tribe, but he gets involved in a race riot and he meets various people. And it's this coming-of-age story that is so moving and so wonderful. And Cole Martin, who plays, everybody's good in it, but Cole Martin, who plays Leon, is one to watch. He's wonderful. And I just rang up halfway through the day and said, we must try and do something with this. And good old BBC, we came to them and said, will you help us make this? And they said, yeah. So 6 years later, we got to make it. It takes a long time to get something made.
My goodness, 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years.
Worth it. Worth
really
every
worth
year
it.
of waiting.
100%. And Olivia, let's talk about your character. I mean, you play Sylvia, the sister of the woman who fosters Leon.
Yeah.
Quite a complex character. Some nice bits and some bad bits. I mean, how would you describe her?
Well, she is not a foster carer. She doesn't want to be. She doesn't really like children, and she really doesn't like children who turn up and make her sister look after kids when she wants to retire to a nice place in the South Coast. Yeah. And she actually threatens Leon and says, you know, if anything happens to my sister, you're in trouble. I mean, and so it was a challenge for me as a role. I don't get to play that kind of character, and I don't get to do a Brummie accent, and it was just such a joy to drop myself into this other world.
Yeah, it was lovely filming in the Midlands. I only had a day, but we filmed on an allotment. And it was great. All these people sort of going, yeah, the best thing you ever did was tease was. So I had a lot of that in Moseley. It was really good fun. And the commitment to it, everybody involved, Olivia and Monica Dole and Christopher Eccleston, Malachi Kirby playing Tufty, and Cole. It was such a commitment to the story. And Sheila Amu wrote the script. It was just wonderful to be amongst people trying to tell this very kind of fragile story about this kid. And I hope people are moved by it, because I was certainly moved by it when I read the story.
Yeah. What happens so often with kids like that, it's almost like your clip there of people coming in and making a documentary, seeing it from the outside. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about this story and the way it's told is it's told by the kid, it's told by Leon, and our director is a young mixed-race woman, and so it's not a load of white people coming in and saying this is what your life is like, it's people telling it how it is.
Who knows?
So Lynette Linton, it's her first film, and she's done a bang-up job. She's wonderful. And it was just a great thing to film in the Midlands, have Midlands accents, and to have a kind of inclusive community doing something positive, teaching this kid. Basically, this kid grows up when he goes down the allotment and he sees all these people, and they all give him advice. You know what you should do, young man? They give him lots of advice. It's a great story.
There are some beautiful moments in it as well. We've got a fantastic clip when Leon finds out he's being separated from his baby brother. Take a look.
He needs to be with a family that can look after him properly. Isn't that right, Maury?
He is with a family, and we do look after him properly.
We know how much you care about him. Wouldn't you like to see him happy? Forever, I mean. That's what we want too. We want the best for everyone. You've been through so much, taking care of your mum and your little brother. You did a brilliant job. A job you should never have had to do. And this is a very hard decision we've had to make.
What are you talking about?
I mean, it is a fantastic performance from the young actor Cole Martin there, who plays
brilliant.
Leon.
Who directed it?
Lynette Linton.
Right.
She's at the Bush Theatre. It's her first film, and she did an extraordinary job. Charlotte Amu wrote it. Carol Harding produced it.
Saw Shobna there,
Shobna Galar. Everybody in it gives the 100%. It's wonderful. It's a beautiful little story.
How many episodes?
There's only one episode.
Oh, right.
It's a one-off.
Well, we actually have a nice little message from Cole that we wanted to send you guys. Take a look.
Hi both. Lenny, it was great catching up with you at the screening the other night, and it was a pleasure getting the opportunity to work with you. I remember that one party scene at the allotments, and that was really fun to film. I hope you're doing well, Olivia. I can't believe it's been over a year since we were all on set together. I remember you making me laugh all the time on set, and I can't wait for Friday. Thanks. Bye.
Aww.
His voice is so deep. His voice wasn't like that on the set.
Who's that gorgeous man?
It's like Barry White now.
We should say, though, he mentioned Friday, of course, because that is when it's on BBC Two.
Yes.
My name is Leon. Have a look. Thank you both for now. Very
Thank you.
nice. Still to come, Lovely Dame Sheila Hancock talks about how she's growing old less graciously and more angrily.
Yes, indeed. But first, it's Thursday and time for this week's One Big Thank You. Tonight, it's going to 17-year-old Daniel Lewis from South Wales. Now, he is a legend who has single-handedly taken on the fly tippers, spoiling his local area. Now, those who know him had this to say.
Daniel has a passion for the environment and wildlife.
Daniel Lewis from Merthyr Tydfil has dedicated his life to making sure his local area is clean and safe for wildlife.
He was always volunteering, planting hedges and photographing nature and building habitats.
Last year, Daniel found a big project to get his teeth into. Driving over Caerphilly Common, he saw that the landscape was blighted by fly tipping.
There's always been a problem on Caerphilly Common with fly tipping.
People dumping their household furniture.
He was devastated with the waste. The council estimated that it was going to be millions of pounds to shift.
He decided he would clear up the mess himself and began making regular trips to remove the rubbish.
He's now gone on to raise funding for CCTV cameras where the fly tipping is taking place.
He got local businesses to provide trucks and rounded up volunteers. The scale of the task was extraordinary. He's not only cleared an entire fly-tipped boat, he's also sent more than 130 car tyres for recycling.
The work Daniel has done is a great role model, not only for his generation, but also for everyone within the community, really.
Oh, well, there is no doubt that Daniel deserves his one big thank you. So we've enlisted the help of Springwatch's Michaela Strachan to surprise him. You're going to love this one. It's a Sunday afternoon in Merthyr Tydfil in South Wales, and Daniel is on his way to one of the places he regularly picks up rubbish. What he doesn't know is that we've got there first, and we've been setting up what looks like some wildlife filming. Here to help us surprise Daniel is someone who appreciates the countryside being clean. Wildlife expert and star of Springwatch, Michaela Strachan.
Well, Daniel's on his way to do what he does, which is clear up all the litter, and we're pretending to film wildlife. Here's our crew, give it a little wave. But the wildlife hasn't turned up. So when Daniel gets here, I'm going to ask him for a little bit of help.
Michaela has got some props that she's going to tell him she always brings along in case of animal no-show.
So what I'm going to ask Daniel to do is go in the bush and, for our cameras, sort of pretend the badger and the squirrel's real. OK, you lot, shush, don't make a sound.
With the trap set, it's just a case of waiting. And here comes Daniel now with his dad, Gerald, who's in on our plan. Michaela goes to introduce herself.
Hello. Hi. Just thought you might wonder what we're doing.
Daniel recognises Michaela right away.
Yeah, we're just doing a bit of filming, and to be honest, it's been a bit of a disaster. But what are you doing? What are you guys doing?
Litter picking.
Oh, really? And do you both come down and do it regularly?
Well, he does a lot on his own, like, but I thought I'd give him a hand, like, so...
Oh, that's amazing. Good for you. How old are you?
17.
17? Are you into the wild outdoors? And yeah? Well, in that case, you might find this really funny.
Yeah.
Will you help us?
Doing what?
Come with me, come with me, come with me.
Now that Michaela's got Daniel's attention, she can spring her outlandish plan on him.
So we've been here all night. We were hoping to film whatever wildlife came along to this pile, but we're not getting it, so don't laugh. We've got a fake badger. No, seriously, we've got a fake badger here. We thought we could put the badger there. So if you could sort of hide yourself behind here and sort of poke his head out, and I'll tell you whether that works. OK.
What do you want me to do?
Just kneel down.
Yeah.
Poke his head out of here, kind of thing. You can't see his hands, though, guys. Is that going to work?
Like that?
Daniel, he's not looking very realistic. And if you sort of make him move a bit, OK, and then move him out of shot.
Like pull him...
So down, yeah, slowly. Have you ever seen a badger do that? Daniel, come on.
That's the badger ticked off. Cue the squirrel.
So, I mean, the squirrel would sort of come up like that, wouldn't it? Yeah, like that. Give me the badger.
Yeah.
Stop laughing. I know it seems potty, but it'll work. I promise you it's going to work. OK. And get him at a slight angle. Oh, that's good. What happens if I come in? The badger is tiny and the squirrel's enormous. So I think the badger would have to be behind.
Daniel's playing along brilliantly, but he's not convinced about the squirrel.
Since when has there been red squirrels in Merthyr?
With Daniel starting to smell a rat, Michaela's going to have to come clean. She asks him to sign a form, confirming he's been happy to help with the filming.
If you want to come up here.
Yeah.
So if it's in there, Daniel, if you can, I'll just put this back. If you could just open that, just sign it. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
You must have thought we were mad. We're not here to fake animals, because we don't do that. I'm here for the One Show to say one big thank you to you for the incredible work that you do.
I didn't expect this.
You are a remarkable young man, and it's not just me and our crew that think so. There's a lot of other people as well that would like to congratulate you and thank you for what you've done.
Thank you.
So follow me.
Just down the road at Gechigair Community Centre, a crowd of well-wishers has gathered.
So everyone wants to show you their appreciation, but it's not just the people here.
Hi Daniel, it's Jermaine here from The One Show. Through your dedication and countless hours of volunteer time, you've made your home of Merthyr Tydfil a cleaner and greener place for everybody who lives there. You're a true community hero, and we aren't the only ones who think so.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to you, Daniel, for the fantastic work you do in Merthyr Tydfil, clearing rubbish and fly tip waste in the area.
To take on board the massive fly tipping issue that we had here, it's been an absolutely tremendous achievement.
Daniel, you are an amazing young man, and this is to thank you for all your dedication. You must be very proud of yourself, and a credit to your mum and dad.
And one of Michaela's pals, Welsh naturalist and Springwatch presenter Yola Williams, sent this message.
Hello there, Dan. I know you're doing a fantastic job. You're like a one-man army down there, boy. Keep up the excellent work. We could do with more people like you in this world.
Thank you.
You're a little bit overwhelmed.
Yes.
You didn't realise you had such a big fan club.
I'm over the moon.
You did a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done, Daniel. He is incredible, and a big thank you as well to Michaela Strachan. You can see more of Michaela on tonight's Springwatch, 8 o'clock on BBC Two.
And if you know someone who deserves a one big thank you, email us at onebigthankyou@bbc.co.uk.
Well, it's time now to chat to Dame Sheila Hancock, who's written a new book called Old Rage. So, Sheila, now we hear this started off as a gentle memoir, and then things happen. Brexit, pandemic, and it changed the tone somewhat.
Yes, it did. I mean, I was asked by the publishers to write. They thought it would be a good idea to write a sort of inspirational idea of old age and death and things like that not being frightening and I thought, yeah, that'll be lovely. But then I'd done quite a bit of it, and then Brexit happened, and I was rage, despair, desperation, beside myself. So that was the first thing. Then my daughter got desperately ill, so I was frightened to death. Then I got very ill and got a thing called rheumatoid arthritis, which changes your whole life very much. And then I was locked down because I was very vulnerable with the virus thing. So it suddenly became a book actually more honestly about old age than the one I was going to do, because, you know, people often say to me, oh, you've lost 2 husbands and how sad and all this. That's life. And actually what I've tried to do is write about life as it truly is. I was going to write a sort of sentimental book, I think, and I hope I haven't.
It is fantastic, and you've written it kind of almost in a diary form, as you say there.
Yes, I have.
But you've said in the past that you'd want to burn your diaries. You wouldn't want people to see them. So what could possibly be in these diaries?
Well, my diaries I write at the end of the day just to get rid of all the vile thoughts in my head. So I mean, suppose my daughter hasn't phoned me, which She usually hasn't, and I will go absolutely...
Shame her on the telly.
They don't love me. They couldn't care less about... I could be lying here dead on the floor and nobody would know. All that. Now, I don't mean that. And when I die, I don't want my lovely daughter to come across this thing saying, what an awful daughter she was. So I'm going to burn them. There's a lot of things you have to do, but, you know, death is imminent for me. Not because I'm ill, but because I'm nearly 90. So
no way.
I am.
Really?
Of course I am. And that means that you're lucky if you've got 5 more years, possibly. So you've got to tidy things up and then kind of enjoy being old.
How many diaries have you got to burn?
Quite a lot, and I tried them. They're things, daily diaries, and I tried once when John was alive, and I was leaving him. I was always leaving him. Oh, right. But on one occasion I was leaving him, and there was a log fire, and I said, and what's more, I'm destroying our past. And I started to... And they just put the fire out. And they sort of went brown, and John was on the floor with laughter. And I thought, oh... And I went up, but it's not an easy job, so it's going to be a big bonfire somewhere.
Yeah, well, would neighbours be looking out for that one? Oh, today's the day.
Yeah, exactly,
Sheila's garden.
Burning them diaries, look at that pile.
Now, you talk about the day you found out that you were up for a damehood. And you talk about feeling, you know, the imposter syndrome, lots of people talk about these days. Is it something that you always suffered with?
Yes, I think I have. I mean, I'm a working class girl background. And in my day, you were considered a bit above yourself if you talked out of turn, and little girls should be seen and not heard and all that. And then the war and being bombed and being evacuated and a lot of bullying went on. So I became very fearful.
Yeah.
And I think the rest of my life, I've been pretty fearful. But when I got this thing, I mean, the opening statement, I mean, Lenny will know about this, it says something along the lines of, we are minded to ask the Queen if she would give you a damehood, or whatever the words are, and are you interested, kind of thing. And I thought, I know what's going to happen. They're going to go to the Queen and she's going to say, you're kidding with that. You know, I mean, seriously, what about that awful film with the sort of Carry On Cleos and... And then I hoped somebody might say, well, she's quite good in Just a Minute or something. But it all seems so inadequate.
I'm
Do you know
sure
what I mean?
Carry On Cleo's the Queen's favourite film.
Well, maybe. But I just thought it was embarrassing for her. Yeah. And she'd just been asked to prorogue Parliament as well by our lovely Prime Minister. So she wasn't in a good mood about being told to do things. So I seriously did think, and it set me off on a kind of thing about looking about whether I did deserve it. And quite honestly, the conclusion was that I didn't. And I was sort of embarrassed by it. But then when the actual day happened and I went with one of my grandchildren, it was a lovely day.
Oh.
And it was after the lockdown had happened. And it was their first time of doing the ceremony again. And it was Prince William, and he had a bit of trouble with the hook, and I was saying, shall I do it for you? And he said, no, I haven't done it for 2 years. And he was really nervous, so it made me less nervous.
Thoroughly deserved.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sheila. And Old Rage is out now. Yeah. That's all we've got time for tonight. Thank you to Sheila, Olivia and Lenny.
Yeah. We'll be back tomorrow with George Ezra and David Harewood. We'll
Have
see
a great
you then.
evening.
Bye-bye.